Dealing with anxiety in dating. That's the topic we're covering today. It's a big one, and I actually went to film this video yesterday, wasn't happy with it, so came back and did it again today. Welcome to Ask Mark. It's week number 78. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, today we're talking anxiety in dating and how to handle anxiety from a really good question about high functioning anxiety. Before we get into that very quickly, I was supposed to have the Academy version 2.0 done today. Unfortunately, the guy who has to click the button to basically turn it over, the web guy, a member of his family is really sick, so obviously I've given him all the time he needs to fix that. My aim is to have it to you within the week. In the meantime, that means you've got an extra couple of days to get the foundation memberships. Literally this time next week, the price going up, that's it forever. If you get on board now, I've created all the content, combed through all of it. It's really awesome. It's a lot of what I work through my one-on-one clients with. You can get it for literally a fraction of the cost of one session, literally. So go on board, get your foundation membership now. And let's talk anxiety in dating. This question comes from Martina, who emailed me, and Martina says, I've been wondering whether you ever covered any approach to dating with some kind of mental illness. I've been diagnosed with high-functioning anxiety and depression, and I'm actively working through these issues with a therapist, so I believe I'm on the path to recovery, which is awesome. It's a necessary part of building that exciting life for myself, and I feel positive and motivated to continue after having had some success already. However, these steps are small and may take years to really get better. I don't think it has to hinder me in any kind of relationships, but the anxiety can't always be controlled, and it makes it very difficult to interact with people, especially meeting new men and revealing more sensitive information about myself. I also can't be exciting and so enthusiastic when it hits me. Sometimes I just have to fake it while feeling crappy inside. I guess my main struggle is how to become authentic, and maybe also about how to talk about these things when is the right time to do so without that fear of stigma that is still attached to it. I know this is a complicated topic, and I guess what I'm looking for is some impulse to change my mindset and let go of that fear. It's not about the root cause of my condition. I've worked through that. That's important in therapy. She's already worked through that. She's aware of it. Do you think any general advice can apply here? I think this might be a good topic for a video, as no doubt many people battle with this issue. It is a great topic for a video, and it's a big topic for a video. So here you've already talked about depression versus anxiety, you've talked about sensitive information, and you've talked about moods. And these are 4 different topics, all in this one question. I'm going to focus on anxiety today and touch on the others a little bit at the end. High functioning anxiety, for those that don't know, is basically, when we imagine anxiety, we imagine someone who's huddled up in the corner in the fetal position. We imagine that person who, when they are anxious, they do less. Right? And a lot of people, their reactions to stress is to do less, i.e. they become less capable, less confident, High functioning anxiety means you do more. Basically, your brain goes into overdrive instead of underdrive to handle your anxiety. You do more and more. You look at someone with high functioning anxiety, they're often type A personalities, very externally successful, basically on all the time. So how to handle it? How do you handle your anxiety? I'm not talking depression, I'm talking specifically anxiety. I've been through a lot of this, and I can tell you 2 really important things. Exposure is essential, right? You know that's pretty obvious. Exposure to the thing that makes you anxious is essential, right? If we take basic tasks, you look at a rookie real estate agent or a rookie doctor, or myself as a rookie vet, when you first start that job, of course you're anxious. And then you get exposed to it safely, and pretty soon you're doing surgery or selling houses without feeling anxious. Exposure is essential. There's a part, though, that gets forgotten when it comes to handling anxiety, and that's the way you think afterwards. And this, to me, has been the key for handling anxiety for my clients, for myself, for anyone, for you. If you really want to get past anxiety, whether it's meeting men, sex, relationships, something at work, it can be literally anything. It's not just about the exposure, right? Because in Martina's example, she's obviously going out to meet men and is being exposed to it, yet she's still friggin' anxious, right? It's about what you think afterwards. Because here's the thing, when you get exposed to anxiety, one of 2 things happens, right? Number 1, you get exposed to all the little things that you're anxious about. Let's take the example of meeting men. You get exposed to awkward silences, you get exposed to social discomfort, and that exposes you to insecurities you have about yourself. You might be 30, 40, 50 and still feeling like a 12-year-old when it comes to meeting people. And so you go out and do it, you get exposed to that anxiety, and that reminds you of doubts you have about yourself. So that's the first thing that happens. The other thing that happens when you're exposed is the really big stuff, the catastrophes you think is going to happen, they don't happen, right? So we project forward and we think, oh, this little awkward silence is going to lead me to being completely rejected and everyone laughing at me. The big stuff never happens, right? It's like being scared of zip lining because you're going to fall, right? You're nervous and you zip line enough, you know how to tie the knots, you know how to do whatever it is, you learn all the little stuff and the big stuff never happens. To remove anxiety is to feel confident, is to feel I'll handle it. That means handling the small shit and knowing that the big shit really doesn't happen. I'm going to do that, it's going to be fine, I'm going to get rejected by that guy and my entire world is not going to fall down. The problem is when you're exposed to the small one, as likely in Martina's example, whatever the small little anxieties are, is most of us go home and we beat ourselves up about it. We think we did the wrong thing. We think we failed. It's all these mindsets that mean we don't want to expose ourselves again. Okay, the biggest thing I learned with handling my own anxiety was to give myself a big freaking pat on the back for the more anxious situations I got myself into. Genuinely. And when I learned not to beat myself up for awkward silences or these small little exposures, oh, you know, if you're ziplining, oh, I tied a knot wrong, right? And someone else found the knot before you ziplined and made a mistake, right? You learn that those small exposures you can handle over time. But importantly, when you go home, instead of going, I should never zipline again because I don't know how to tie the knot, what an arse I am, you're going home going, hey, that's great, you put yourself out there, you made mistakes, right? So in my example, going out to beat social anxiety, you get rejected 10, 12 times a night, and I'm going home going, hey, that's fantastic, Mark. Look how much you exposed yourself to your anxiety tonight. You're a freaking hero in your world. And honestly, when you have this, when you're really training your brain to genuinely reward yourself, and it's not stupid because that's the way success happens. Right? If you're feeling anxious right now, look at an area you are confident in. Take my client this morning who was a real estate agent, right? Anxious in dating relationships, fantastic at real estate. Obviously, she wasn't always. I asked her about her rookie years and she's making heaps of mistakes. She was anxious. She just had enough exposure and then she went home, pat herself on the back and still turned up to work the next day. Right? The difference is with these sorts of anxieties, with meeting men, whatever, you don't have anyone to hold you accountable for showing up to work the next day. Only you will hold yourself accountable for that exposure for showing up to work the next day. And that's why if you go home and beat yourself up for showing up to work and making a mistake, you're not going to want to show up to work again. And pretty quickly, you're going to want to stop meeting men. Whereas even if you're a guy meeting women, when you go home and you're going, hey, I'm really proud of myself for that exposure. You know, take myself, I remember I had a surgery once that went absolutely horribly. I had so much anxiety around it and another surgeon had to come in and save me or we would have lost that dog, right? I totally made a mistake. But instead of going home and beat myself up, I said, great, you got to learn your lesson, you exposed yourself to the anxiety, and now you're going to go in again and you're going to have more confidence as a result. And of course, more confidence in surgeries comes after experiences like that, after you're exposed to some of those small, even big in those cases, anxieties, because you realize that they can be handled. And that's the core of anxiety. That's the core of it. It is really about eventually knowing you can handle it. The small shit that happens, I can deal with that. The big shit, that actually doesn't happen. That's just my mind projecting forward. And once you cover those two, now you're feeling confident. Now you're feeling like you can handle it. And even if there's that little bit of anxiety there, you go, I got this. I'm going to deal with this. And that's it. I really believe that is the cure for anxiety. Your brain is the most malleable organ in the body. The most malleable. You have the most control over it. And the more you can do to train it, to think not just about exposure, but what you think after the exposure and how you perceive things after the exposure, that has been the real secret for me and for my clients in handling anxiety. Brilliant question, Martina. Brilliant question. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for viewing. I love that question. I just want to focus all this on that question because we all have anxieties, me included. Little Lucy included. Hopefully you can see her. She's pretty anxious. We all have them. The cool thing is, as humans, we have the ability to train our minds and get control over them and overcome them. And I'm living proof of that. You absolutely can be too. Lots of my clients are. So take this away and think, okay, not only am I going to expose myself, realize that catastrophes don't happen and that I will handle the small shit, awkward silence, who cares? It happens to all of us. You then go, hey, at the end of the day, I'm really proud of myself. I'm validating myself for exposing myself to that anxiety. You're a hero. Be your own hero by exposing yourself to anxiety. And when you really see it that way, you'll keep doing it and then you'll learn to handle it over time. It's not going to happen straight away. The first exposure usually sucks and makes you not want to go to the second exposure. That's why you need that mindset afterwards. So thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts, comments, questions in the space below. Seriously, join up to the Academy. Join up. It is the last time the price will ever be this ridiculously low. After this, for version 2.0, it's going to go up. You can join the Academy at makehimyours.com.au/academy right now and still get foundation member prices. Thank you so much for enjoying it and supporting my channel. I can't wait for you to see the book once it's out and the Academy as well. Check the links in the description for both, and I will see you in the next video very soon.